What up everyone, it's your man XMan87 here, bringing you my first ever Q&A video. I'll be answering some questions from one of my previous videos. So before we get into everything, if you could please leave a thumbs up, like rating on the video. It'll help show your support for my channel and I greatly appreciate it. Now with that said, let's get into it. Just a heads up, there's only about a week left to enter my giveaway contest for Marvel's Spider-Man 2 PS5 Digital Deluxe Edition copy of the video game. I'll leave links in the description below to my videos where you can enter, and just watch the video so you can follow the rules to see if you can be the lucky winner who walks out with a copy and play it on launch day. I'll be announcing the winner on October 20th during my Spider-Man 2 Venom Collector's Edition unboxing video. But now on to some Q&A, which I'm excited about doing this for the first time. It's just a kick back and chill video, so treat it like a podcast for your listening or viewing pleasure. The first question comes from Frosted Flakes 4879. That's a funny username. I love it. Yo, Manny, I got a question for you for your Q&A video. Also, to the people who see this, feel free to reply to this comment with your answers. Question: if you had to limit yourself to 10 to 12 figures, so about a shelf worth of figures, to represent Marvel Legends and the characters you love from the Marvel Universe, who would you go with and what versions of those characters? Oh man, that's a really good question, and thankfully I don't limit myself. But to answer your question, and I don't know if this question is coming from your situation, if you only have about a shelf worth of figures to display, but I'm gonna try my best to put myself in your shoes. And if I had to have 10 to 12 figures, honestly, man, I would just keep it simple and just stick to something team-based. Like X-Men, that's my shit and will always be my shit. So my 10 to 12 figures would just be X-Men Gold and Blue Strike teams. You know, that's that's the best way that I would do it. I know other people will just get their favorite characters, and it'll be a mix of like Wolverine and Daredevils and maybe Fantastic Four, or, you know, some villains here and there. Some people do that. But yeah, man, this question got me thinking. Like, if I only had 10 to 12 Marvel Legends figures, because I'm such a universal builder. You guys see my collection. I'm very thematic. I got Spider-Man, Avengers, X-Men, you know, the cosmic universe, all that. So it's almost like I'm picturing if I ever had to sell off my Marvel Legends collection, which wasn't the first time, you know, wouldn't be the first time, since I did it before when I came down with a stomach disease and had to pay for medical bills at the time when I had no insurance. Yeah, this would be something where if there was a dire financial situation that came down to that again, which I pray to God it never happens again, I would only keep the X-Men Blue and Gold teams, because again, I just love X-Men and a Sentinel, you know, gotta have that. I would just simplify it like that. But just for fun, I'm gonna show an image right here when I was rebuilding my Marvel Legends collection after selling it. And as you can see, I only had two shelves. One was Spider-Man and the other was X-Men. It was mainly Toy Biz, with some of the new Hasbro releases that were coming out at the time. This was back when I was living in Jersey, and it was a much smaller place, so I was slowly rebuilding back to getting the Avengers and all that stuff. A lot of the stuff I had in bins. I had some bookcases also from IKEA that opened and closed, so that helped a lot, especially with dust. And it wasn't until I got married and moved to North Carolina I was able to get a new place with a whole room that I can dedicate my action figure collection to. So I had Batman animated series, DCUC, Star Wars, all that, man. It was nice to finally have the room to display everything I wanted to. You know, it's not impossible to build or rebuild a collection as long as you work hard towards that career goal that will land you a six-figure job. You can enjoy your valuables and, you know, just keep that right positive mindset and never give up. Trust me, never give up and never say never. It is possible. So yeah, I will never take what I have for granted. I'm curious to see other people in the comments answer this. So, because, you know, there are people with small collections and that's okay. Look, whether your collection is big or small, as long as you are happy with it, that's all that freaking matters. Next question is from user Victor Carrillo 7343. I agree a little that no extra hands thing is getting old, especially on expensive figures. Come on, Hasbro. The Goblin figure could be a little pricey. I wish it was cheaper. I think that's what he meant to say. Extra hands would have been awesome. I wish they would remake the Raimi new Goblin and Black Spider-Man suit, maybe Venom. X2 Nightcrawler would be great. That's not a question, bro. That's I guess he's just commenting off from my last video. Yeah, X2 Nightcrawler would be great. Here's the real Q&A. Which Fox or Raimi characters would be great to have if they do Deadpool 3 movie wave? And what? Hold on a second. Which Fox or Raimi characters would be great to have if they do Deadpool 3 movie wave and would okay, I think he meant to say, and what character would be great for a deluxe and Bat figures for a Deadpool movie? To answer your first question, I mean, I already answered it in that video pretty much for Raimi characters. My number one most wanted Marvel Legends movie figure is Macho Man Randy Savage, Bonesaw McGraw. Probably my most wanted Marvel Legends figure at this point. Overall, but yeah, it would be him. For Raimi characters, I don't think there's any left. I mean, I would love to see a Bully Maguire, in his all-black suit and the emo hair. That would be freaking sweet. But everyone else would be like civilian characters. Yeah, like I just mentioned, Bully Maguire and a Bryce Dallas Howard, Gwen Stacy would be nice. It would be nice to see Bryce Dallas Howard in a Marvel Legends, because that woman has such a pretty face, man. Maybe Toby's wrestling suit, the Human Spider, that one. I would like to see that. Yeah, it's either going to be like the same characters or other civilian characters. Topher Grace's Venom remake is definitely one that would be very popular, because I love that movie suit. Even though they didn't nail the character right, that movie suit was so freaking good, and that definitely needs an update. So if we're talking about new characters never made before in figure form from the Raimi franchise, not much left, honestly, but a lot of updates are for sure needed. For the Foxmen, yeah, like I said before, it'd be great to have a complete team with the matching suits. Yeah, all the other ones I mentioned, like Tyler Mane Sabretooth, Ray Parker, or Ray Park, whatever his name is, Toad. Those would be really, really nice to have in Legends form. X2 Nightcrawler. Oh, Kelly Hu, Lady Deathstrike. Now, that's probably one that's going to be in my top 3, top 5 list. Oscar Isaac, Apocalypse. Yeah, he looked like Ivan Ooze, but, I'm just thinking figure form, he would look cool. Olivia Munn Psylocke, of course. So, I think there are more figures, definitely a lot more characters to choose from those X-Men franchises than the Raimi films, because the X-Men movies, they had a lot of movies. Raimi only had 3 movies. I would love to see the Hellfire Club. I love X-Men First Class, and me, Magneto is my boy. That is my favorite X-Men character. So I would love to have him, how he ended up in the final scene of the movie, where it looked like he had a suit, like the Magneto suit. Yeah, that would be awesome. And that helmet was spot on at the end. That was actually the most comic accurate Magneto helmet on screen, because they totally messed it up. Days of the Future Past. I'm like, what the hell is this? Why is this costume completely different? You know what I mean? I want Magneto in the red and purple, and they made him in like burgundy. And come on, man. Let's get Magneto in freaking red and purple. So I really hope whoever plays him in the MCU, I really hope we get a beautiful red and purple costume. For Deadpool 3 movie wave, well, definitely I want that Hugh Jackman in his comic Wolverine outfit. That's number one. I don't know who else is in the movie. Don't spoil it for me. I always try to stay away from like behind the scenes info and stuff. I always like to go into movies surprised. But if they were to do a mix of characters from the 3 Deadpool films. I would like to see Gina Carano's character. What was it? Angel Dust? That would have been nice, but I don't think that's going to happen since her fallout with Disney. I don't think we'll ever see her face in figure form again, at least under, any Disney-owned property that Hasbro has the license of. Fire Fist, they could use Ned Leeds' body. I think that would be a smart choice. Deluxe figures, Colossus. Oh, definitely Colossus and that Prisoner Juggernaut. That would be freaking awesome. But yeah, I'm interested to see what Marvel Legends do for the Deadpool 3 movie wave, because their first 3 Deadpool waves, which was Sasquatch, the second wave was... What was the second wave? It was Sauron, and then the third wave was Strong Guy for the Build-A-Figures. So they were all comic waves. They never did a Deadpool movie wave. It'll be interesting to see if they do an all movie wave for Deadpool. I don't think it might be an all movie wave though. It might be split. So I think we'll get a half comic, half movie wave. But who knows? Maybe like the other Deadpool movies, they just had all comic waves to coincide with the movie for marketing purposes. So I wouldn't be opposed to that. There are many X-Men characters that I'd love to see that would fall into a Deadpool wave. And even other versions of Deadpool, because I still want an Ultimate Deadpool figure so bad. So that version of Deadpool could end up in either his own wave or a Spider-Man wave, because we definitely need more Ultimate characters for Spider-Man. Next question comes from Blade Wilson 1052. Do you think the X-Men films were adapted well enough from comic to screen, or do you think they're horrible? Short answer is no. I mean, that's the short answer, but this might come as a surprise to many, since a lot of you think I'm a purist with calling inaccuracies from Marvel Legends figures in my reviews, and because I like comic accuracy. But when it comes to movies, I'm not so much like that, because I look at it from a different perspective. Like for movies, I treat it as its own universe. It's not like the main comic 616. So what I'm looking for is those inspirational pieces adapted, because that's what a lot of movies do. They don't just do a straight adaptation. They pick fragments and such from story arcs spanning across, decades, and just kind of put their own twist with their movies, right? They put their own twist on it. So the thing I was looking for more importantly than anything is getting the characters right. And they got a lot of the characters right. Like every Hugh Jackman Wolverine interaction was just spot on, and a lot of the characters, Ian McKellen as Magneto, Michael Fassbender as Magneto, they were both magnificent, flawless, just beautiful performances from them all around. They were just absolutely stellar. Nightcrawler, Jean Grey, Professor X, Deadpool, the list goes on and on. I could go on here forever on every character that they got right. Because sometimes a movie could screw up a full adaptation from comic to screen. Take The Watchmen, for example. I love that movie, but the ending was not the comic. Why bother making the movie? If you're going, it's like you're going to do everything from beginning to end. If you're doing everything legit, scene by scene, and then all of a sudden at the end, you just decide to go a different route. Like, wait, what? Now, I love The Watchmen. I still love The Watchmen movie. I think it's one of the greatest comic book movies ever made. It's just a visual masterpiece. But when it comes to adaptations, like faithful, full-on adaptations from page to page, I look at animation more, because there's so much more that you could do with animation than live action. So I look more for comic character accuracy. And Deadpool was like 100%, character accurate, man. He was just spot on. Ryan Reynolds he owns that role, man. And then you got Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, which is, again, he's just freaking accurate all around. Yeah, some of their movies like Wolverine Origins was just, They should have went with the Hulk versus Wolverine animated movie route. That's what they should have done for that movie. That would have been great, but they didn't own the rights to Hulk. But hopefully now the MCU can do that. Speaking of Wolverine Origins, remember the video game that came out for that? Have you ever played that? Holy crap. That was way better than the freaking movie. I just remember being glued to the TV, and oh my god, that game was just that game had no business being that good. I just remember the whole battle damage effect on him, how he would just, you could see the adamantium skeleton whenever damage was inflicted on him, and then it would heal up over time. It was just the best battle damage effect and animation I've ever seen in a video game to date. Which is why I am extremely beyond ecstatic for the Insomniac Games Wolverine PS5 video game. I cannot wait for that. As a huge X-Men fan, as a huge Wolverine fan, we are going to be in for a treat with a bunch of X-Men lore all stored into that game, man. I just cannot wait. But they did produce some great films. X-Men 1, I'll never forget that. Going to the movies with my brother, seeing that for the first time as huge X-Men fans. We were like, whoa, this is amazing. Like seeing our favorite characters come to life. X2, great movie, man. I loved Nightcrawler so much. He's one of my favorite X-Men of all time. And just seeing him, he looked absolutely amazing. Well, he was like a hobo. He just dressed like a freaking homeless person, and I find it pretty messed up that, Professor X has a whole freaking mansion full of clothes, and they couldn't spare this guy some extra clothing, so it's just like, come on, man. At least give him the freaking black suit X-Men uniform. But X3 was trash, Wolverine Origins was trash, X-Men First Class was absolutely amazing. Alright, look, man. Out of all the comic book movies, there's probably only about 3 that legit made me a little watery at the eyes. And I'm not a person that cries. I mean, I cry when I lose a loved one. You know what I mean? It's got to be someone like in my family or someone I know. That'll really, really hit me. But one of those few movies was, Amazing Spider-Man 2. The Gwen Stacy death scene. I know it's not X-Men, but I'm just pointing it out. Man, that hit me so hard because I know what it's like to lose a loved one. Logan hit me in the feels too. The Logan movie was an absolute masterpiece. I think it was the perfect send-off for Hugh Jackman's Wolverine. But then I wanted him in the MCU so bad, so now that he's going to be in Deadpool 3, I feel like, well, is this going to be his perfect send-off then? As a standalone film, Logan, it's perfect send-off for Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, at least for that universe. But I guess now he will be reintroduced into the MCU, and I'm sure they'll find a way to give him his flowers into the MCU and give him a send-off in that universe. I hope we see X-23 too. And man, I did not realize, I saw a picture of the girl that played X-23 in the Logan film, and now she's like a grown-ass woman. I'm like, whoa, what? Man, I feel old as hell. So when I saw her, I was just like, well, I guess she's perfect now to cast her as an adult X-23. Somehow, some way, if they could fit her into Deadpool 3, I'd love to see her make an appearance. And, X-Men First Class, when obviously the bullet hit Professor X and he lost his legs, and he was just like, I can't feel my legs. Like, that acting from James McAvoy, I don't know what it is. That scene, it just hit me. I don't know, man. Something hit me in the feels where it was just so powerful. Like, First Class was just absolutely stunning. I think out of all the comic book movies I've ever seen, X-Men First Class, top to bottom, was just perfectly written all around. I mean, director Matthew Vaughn, I think that was his name. What a freaking stellar job he did. It was just so well-rounded, so beautifully paced and edited, and the characters, man, Magneto's performance, Michael Fassbender, that was just man, I love that. It just made me excited to see the next one. And it was X-Men Days of the Future Past, which it was another banger, you know what I mean? So, X-Men 1, 2, First Class, and Days of Future Past already right there. That's 4 films that beat and made up for the last, what was it? The Last Stand, X-Men 3, and then Wolverine Origins. Then the third one was what? Apocalypse, which was, it didn't live up to what I expected it to be. And then Dark Phoenix was just, oh man, talk about Gaga, man. Why? Why was that movie made? They literally wanted to rectify the caca stain that was X-Men 3 The Last Stand, and all they did was literally rewrite that movie. Actually, even rewrite it. It was basically a carbon copy of that movie, but without the main characters from X3, and they somehow freaking made it worse. Like, what the hell? How do you make it worse? I don't know what they thought would make it better by writing something worse than before. We all know how Dark Phoenix came to be, and you needed the Hellfire Club for that, You didn't have Mastermind manipulating Jean Grey and bringing out the Dark Phoenix, and you didn't have that, you know what I mean? So Hellfire Club would have been great if it was saved for that, to rewrite it and make it better, right? But why didn't they just go the Madeline Pryor route? Have Sinister as the villain and, make Jean Grey Madeline Pryor. That would have been a little bit better. It would have been different. So yeah, I'm not looking for full-on adaptations. I'm just looking for fragments of story arcs spanned and sprinkled across these movies to bridge for future movies like they did with Infinity War, man. Thanos at the end of the film sitting in the farm with just like the comics. That to me feels more rewarding. When I see that, I'm like, hell yeah. Instead of being a full adaptation, because then I know what's going to happen. It's like I'm already spoiled. I love the element of surprise. So surprise me with something. But yeah, out of the X-Men films, we actually had a lot more good than bad. X-Men 1, X-Men 2, X-Men First Class, Days of Future Past, Logan, we'll never forget that masterpiece. Deadpool 1, and even Deadpool 2 I liked. Those are 7 movies right there over the 3 or 4 bad ones, right? They had X-Men Apocalypse, X-Men Last Stand, Wolverine Origins, and Dark Phoenix 4. So yeah, I already named 7 good ones and then 4 bad ones, so the good outweighs the bad. So let's see what Marvel Studios does with their X-Men franchise, because they're either going to be great or they're going to mess it up. One thing for sure is that I think this will be the closest to Jim Lee comic accurate costumes we'll see, because if the yellow and blue Wolverine costume that Hugh Jackman is wearing from the Deadpool movie is any indication of what's to come for those X-Men films, then I think it's pretty safe to say we're gonna have some really nice blue, yellow, green, red costumes, and that's probably gonna be the most visually popping team put together on screen. Next question comes from Solar Flare 9562. What up, Solar Flare, man? He's one of my regulars on the channel. Show him some love. Who are some of your favorite non-Marvel / DC comic book characters? My 2 favorites are Spawn and Hellboy. Hell yeah, man. I'm right there with you. I love Spawn and Hellboy. But Hellboy's not my second favorite. Spawn is my first favorite, for sure, out of non-Marvel DC comic book characters. I love Hellboy, and as much as I love Hellboy, my number 2 would go to Judge Dredd. I freaking love Judge Dredd. So, growing up, Spawn and Judge Dredd, those were my guys. I even, read other comic characters, man, my knowledge expands way beyond Marvel and DC. But if you guys remember The Prophet, I love The Prophet, man. My brother used to read those books, buy those books, I would read them. He was such a cool looking character. But Spawn and Judge Dredd are my absolute favorites from outside of Marvel and DC. I remember when the first Spawn movie came out, I was so obsessed with that movie, man. So obsessed. and obsessed with the figures, you know, Spawn line. I remember when Toddy Mac first launched his Spawn line and my brother and I got the figures. We were like, whoa, man, he definitely... Todd operated on a different level. He really did. He made toys feel realistic or look realistic. It was just a different feel from what we were getting from other toys at the time. And, shoo, man, those were some fun times to collect. McFarlane completely changed the game's landscape and the overall foundation of toy collecting, which I'll always thank him for. Shit, the overall industry, not just toy collecting. Because of him, the word adult toy collector was pretty much created and had to be labeled on products with a higher age limit, as they just didn't look or feel like kids' toys, especially the figures that had bloody and gory components to them. I feel like he also started the whole variant chase figure thing to make toy collecting more enticing, which is something he still does to this day. If he didn't invent that, which I'm almost positive he did, but if not, he sure made it trendy. As one of my comic book artist idols, the day I met him and spoke to him will always be unforgettable. It's even more memorable because he approached me first and not me approaching him. Yeah, very rarely I get starstruck, but I was there. His vintage figures were some of the best in the 90s, or arguably the best. Just seeing his artistic approach from comics to plastic would leave me awe-inspired every time. He really made things come to life, and some of those still hold up to this day, like that Spawn alleyway diorama. You can get some sick photos with that thing for your action figure photography. Some of the stuff he was doing in the late 90s, and I want to say like the early 2000s, back in my high school days, he was just applying stuff that was so much better at that time than now, you know, like some more realisms, like the real chain links. Even though they were action figures, man, they were still amazing looking. And Cygor with the belly popping, and you can have like the Cyber Monkey, you know, his Cygor now doesn't have that. Same with his Overkill having real chain links, so it didn't give me any desire to dive into this new Spawn line. But I was all over the MK11 Spawn because I loved MK11, and using Spawn, he just became my main. And I own a few other Spawns. I own Clown and Violator. But it's cool that he's now doing those older characters fully articulated, because that was one of his biggest criticisms, is the lack of articulation. We wanted a full-fledged, you know, 1/12 scale Spawn action figure line, because he needed to get with the times. That's what every other action figure company was doing, is the over 20 plus point of articulation. That Spawn movie was one of my favorite movie memories as a kid. I was just so obsessed with it. I loved the look to it. Seeing John Leguizamo's Clown was just, oh man, I couldn't believe it was him. And I don't know what he's going to do for this new Spawn movie. I believe Jamie Foxx is Spawn, and I know he had a health scare, and I hope he's fine. I just know, I don't know what's going on with it. So I'm curious to see, and I hope it's good. But it's just too long to where I'm like, okay, it's in developmental hell. So, I don't know. I don't have faith in it. Then Judge Dredd. I just love Judge Dredd. He's such a badass. And there wasn't really figures of Judge Dredd back in the day when I was a kid. Probably just the movie ones. And I didn't really like that movie. As much as I love Sylvester Stallone, that movie was just not for me. But we have a lot more Judge Dredd figures nowadays. So, you know, it makes up for it. And I remember when Toy Biz lost the Marvel license to Hasbro. It was Marvel Toys when Toy Biz was no more, and they were making the legendary comic book heroes. And that first Build-A-Figure wave with Pitt, oh my god, that was amazing. I believe Judge Dredd, I think he was in the same wave as Judge Death, or Judge Death was in wave 2. I think it was the Monkey Man Build-A-Figure. But yeah, I had those sets. To me, the definitive Judge Dredd figure was the Mezco Toys with the Lawmaster. Oh man, that one I still have to this day. And yeah, that is just one hell of a masterpiece right there. I'd love to see a Carl Urban Judge Dredd from the movie. I think that movie was freaking awesome. And ever since that movie, I wanted more. I'm so mad they never made a sequel. So freaking mad. At least I was hoping for a Netflix series. That would have been amazing too. I'm still hoping to this day we could get a sequel for that movie because Mama was such a badass. Madeline Madrigal was an awesome villain too, and yeah, I even liked the girl who played Anderson. So I'm really hoping that a sequel could happen somehow, some way, someday, because I would really love to see Judge Death on screen. So those are my top 2 favorites outside of Marvel and DC. Spawn number 1, Judge Dredd number 2, but Hellboy is definitely number 3. And the final question of the day comes from Eric Millman 1575. What property needs to have action figures made of their characters that hasn't been made before? And what company should make them? Ooh, great question, man. This puts me on the spot right here. Man, this is a hard one. Oh, actually, Mafex can do it. Wow, I named the company before the property. But I would have to go with Amalgam Comics, and you guys know that was a Marvel and DC owned property, which was an amalgamation of DC and Marvel characters, because I would kill to have a Dark Claw figure. Oh man, that would be one of the greatest action figures ever made. And just other characters like Doctor Strange, Fate, and all that. That would be for sure. That would be a certified dream line for me. And I can see Mafex be the ones to do that. I don't know the legalities of what it would be, since that is a property owned by both Marvel and DC. I'm just here to answer the question on what I would love to see from a action figure line never made before. But yeah, don't tell me that Mafex wouldn't kill it with a Dark Claw. I mean, the amalgamation of Wolverine and Batman. Come on, man. That, you don't get any better than that. Oh, they would kill it with the fabric wired cape and all those claws and the accessories we would get with it. It would just be over the top insane. But yeah, that would be my answer, and I'm curious to see what the chats will say to answer to this specific question. That should be a fun one, because I'm probably missing a few other lines that I want to see made. But to me, this is like the top, man. Nothing would top this at all. So thank you to those who participated in the Q&A. This was a lot of fun. I love talking about anything in the hobby, so I appreciate it. All right, my X-Maniacs. Ooh, X-Maniacs. I like that. It's got a ring to it. I'm going to skedaddle out of here, off to lunch. You know the deal. Follow me on the gram, leave a comment, share and subscribe. See you on the next one. Peace, peace.